Okay, friends, hello. Here I am. Happy Tuesday. It's time for another episode of Tuesday Live at 5. This is Lena Gersa. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator from Cambridge, Ontario, Canada, where Roger's Wi Fi doesn't seem to be working especially well just now. And today I am super excited to share with you some really cute projects using a kind of under the radar bundle from the Stampin' Up! September December mini catalog. So we are going to be playing with the Wishes All Around bundle today, and I'm going to show you some projects. It's a super versatile bundle, and as I said, it's one that kind of flies under the radar in the catalog. So I'm just going to wait a few minutes and hope that folks are tuning in here. My phone seems to be having trouble connecting. If you are watching, can you please just give me a hello so I know you're here? I see Renee has said hello. If anybody else is out there, oh, there's Sonia. Happy birthday, Sonia. Sonia's birthday today, everyone. Here is the fabulous bundle that we are using today called Wishes All Around. It's from the Stampin' Up! September December mini catalog. I may have already said that, but I've kind of lost track because technology. So this is one that is sort of a sleeper in the mini catalog. It's got the stamp set itself is okay. But honestly, it is the dies that really make this bundle a must-have. So the stamp set has one sort of funky wreath made of Christmas trees, and then some sentiments in lovely fonts that I really like. But the stamp set all on its own doesn't really do it for me. What really does it for me are the dies. That they are what sold me on this bundle. So we have an open die that cuts out the stamped wreath, but then we have these other two dies. One is a snowflake wreath, and the other is sort of a twig and berry leaf. And they are both fabulous. You're going to see them all in action today. And then, of course, we have some like individual dies that cut corresponding shapes and images. So there's an individual little Christmas tree and little dies to cut that. I love that they give us multiples of those little dies so you don't have to do 15 times through the machine to cut out a bunch of images. And then same thing, you get one die that has two snowflakes on it and one that has a single, and then same thing with the twigs and berries. So it's a great set of dies, and when you combine it with the stamp set, you get a really great bundle that's quite versatile. Okay. Oh, you just got it, Pam. That's awesome. Now, I am going to say there is a must-have that goes with this. I mean, it's not part of the bundle. It's not even pictured with the bundle. But if you have not yet checked out the Deckled Circles dies, you are missing out because this is a fabulous set of dies. There's 13 dies in this set. The largest one is 6 inches. Okay, there's my hand. It is a massive die, and I use these exclusively with the wreaths in this die. You're going to see them on every card today. Okay, so that is another must-have. So let's set that aside and get to some Stampin'. Enough chit chatting. Oh, Pam has those too. All right. So this is a card I posted earlier today. It's actually one that we're going to be making in my Christmas card buffet later this week, and I thought I would showcase how to make it. It is really quick and easy. I like to have fairly quick and easy cards at my buffets so people can get a lot done, because a lot of people come with a plan to make a bunch of cards in the 3-hour window. So I'm going to show you how to put this together. We are going to start with a fabulous piece of the Merry Bold and Bright designer series paper. This works perfectly with this little Christmas tree wreath. And oh, it's looking right now like I may be frozen. My Wi-Fi is just not my friend today. All right. Okay, I think we're moving again. Moving and grooving. I hope so. Okay, Mary hasn't ever considered it, so I'm hoping to convince you, Mary. I'm hoping to make you a believer. All right, so this piece is 4 by 5 1/4 inches. And then we have a piece of Poppy Parade cardstock that is 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. So we're just going to layer those two, and we're going to have a nice little border like I like. If you are new here, you'll find out very quickly that I like lots of layers, and I like narrow borders on my layers. So you will have to bear with me. It's just kind of my thing. Now this is a little wide, and that's not making me happy. So we're going to give that a little trim. Sometimes when you are creating narrow borders, you don't quite get your measurements quite exact, and you end up having to do a little trim job. There we go. That is perfect. Like that very much. So we're going to get that out of the way. Oh, it is frozen. Okay. Yeah, I've just lost my camera again. What the heck is with the Wi-Fi? We're going to try this again. Oh, there we go. I think we're back. maybe. One never really knows these days. Okay. Yeah, apparently I'm frozen for everybody, Debbie. It's not just you. But we're going to see if this decides to pop back up. I may have to abort, abort our mission and try again a little later once the Wi-Fi decides to be a little bit more cooperative. Hi, Judy from Wawa. I see you there. I'm just waiting for my desk computer to come back online. It's not, it's the actual Wi-Fi is down, Pam. Yeah, it's there is nobody else in the house right now. So it's just me, and the modem is in the next room. So it would appear that, oh, okay, it's asking if I want to use my camera. We're going to switch once again to desktop view. Let me just get this switched over. We're going to use that camera. And we're going to close that. Sorry about this, ladies. Let's see if that works. How's that looking? Is everybody seeing my desk? Oh, it's probably not because you're not on. I'm not in the studio yet.
There we go. Okay, it's back.
And hopefully no echo because I just turned off the other mic. All right, let's put this back on center stage. And here we go. Yes, Rosemary, it is very much like teaching online during COVID. So much troubleshooting and trying to figure out technology. Oh, goodness, you're bringing back traumatic memories. Let's not talk about this. All right. So here we go. We have our layers. We put our DSP onto our Poppy Parade layer, okay? And then that is going to get layered onto a shaded spruce card base, okay? 4 1/4 by 11, scored in the middle at 5 1/2. And I feel like I have to talk really fast before the Wi-Fi goes out again. You ever have that feeling? It's like, hurry, hurry. Okay, I'm not going to talk fast because that won't go well. So we're going to add a little adhesive to the back. And the nice thing about this DSP is it works both right side up and upside down because the trees go both ways. So you don't have to worry about trying to get it right side up. Love that. Okay, so there is our card. Now we are going to build some layers. So here I have one of those fabulous deckled circles, and it is embossed using one of the Basics 3D embossing folders. These are an online exclusive. I call it Basics 2. I just numbered them 1, 2, 3. It's kind of a crosshatch pattern. And it is one of the ones I use most. Here, I'll hold that up so you can see it. It's one of the patterns I use most in those 3D Basics folders. So I'm going to go ahead and just apply a bit of glue to my circle here. And we're going to center this on the front of our card. And then I have already stamped and die cut that Christmas tree wreath. So I've stamped in shaded spruce ink on Granny Apple green cardstock and then die cut it using the open die. Okay, so that is just going to get glued centered on my little circle here. So I'm not going to apply a ton of glue. I'm just going to kind of go little dabs on every other tree. You don't need a whole lot to hold this thing on. It's quite light. There we go. So we'll pop that on. Just like that. And there is one little spot here that didn't stamp especially clearly. So I'm going to put that at the bottom so I can hide it with my ribbon. If there, like I said, if there's a mistake to be made or a fix for a little oopsie, I probably made the mistake and have an idea for how to fix. All right, so we are going to now stamp our sentiment in Poppy Parade ink. I've just got a scrap of white cardstock here. This one says, "Make it merry." So I'm going to stamp it, and then I'm going to cheat and use a retired circle punch just because it's easier on camera. You can certainly use circle dies to cut this out, but I'm just going to punch it. This is a 1.5 inch circle, so anything close to that will work. Okay, and then I have another deckled circle cut from Poppy Parade cardstock, and I'm going to go ahead and center that on there. So let's add a little bit of glue there. And we'll pop this on, centered on our deckled circle there. And then that is going to get popped up in the center of our wreath. So we'll grab a couple of dimensionals. And we're going to pop that on. And hopefully my sentiment is going to be straight. Not always, but hopefully. And then we're going to add a little bit of this fun ribbon. So this is from the annual catalog. It's actually Parakeet Party, but I like the fact it just kind of works. We've got so many shades of green going on in this card. It just works, even though it's not an exact match. It's so close, and this green is very close to Parakeet Party in this paper. So it's a really great little ribbon to use. And I didn't want a huge, big ribbon on this because I didn't want to cover up my sentiment. So we're going to tie a little bow and add a glue dot. So we'll grab that. And we're just going to tuck that in right at the base of our sentiment there. And then the last touch is a little bit of bling. So I've got some of my adhesive backed sequiny disc things. I can't even remember what they're called. I'm sure somebody can look it up in the catalog for me. They are currently not orderable, as are many of our embellishments. It is shocking to me actually how many embellishments are not available right now, but there's a whole bunch coming in within the next week, and I think these might be among them. So that's the good news. So there we go, just a little bit of bling. And then on the inside, I'll show you on my sample, I added a basic white layer, stamped another sentiment from the set, and then stamped that little individual Christmas tree several times across the bottom, alternating in granny apple green and shaded spruce ink. Okay, so that's a really quick and easy Christmas card idea with that Christmas tree wreath image. Okay, all right, where am I going to put these? We'll set them over here. And then we're going to bring in a fall card because, you know, I have to do a fall card until we're done with fall. I am going to be making fall cards. Even though we are well past our Thanksgiving here in Canada, I am still going to be making fall cards because it is still fall. So here is that twig and berry wreath done as a fall card. So I'm going to show you how to do this one. It is not hard to put together at all. Just going to clean up my mess here a little. Oh, yeah, I know. Honestly, technology, you just kind of keep troubleshooting until you figure it out. And half the time, it's not even your fault. Half the time, it's because, you know, things are not working as they should, as was the case today with my Wi-Fi. All right, so we are going to start with a Mossy Meadow cardstock panel. So this is 5¼ by 4 inches, and I have embossed it using that gorgeous leaf fall embossing folder. So this is another online exclusive. It was actually in the mini catalog last fall and carried over as an online only product. So that you can still get this if you missed out on getting it last year. It is a beautiful one, gorgeous for fall cards. And we're going to bring out those falling leaves with a little bit of ink blending. So I'm just going to set all these little bitty bits aside for a minute and bring in my Mossy Meadow ink pad and my blending brush. And I'm just very lightly, I'm not going to use a whole lot of ink. I'm just going to lightly brush across those embossed leaves. And that's just going to really make them pop off the background. I'm not brushing over the entire panel. I'm just hitting the raised embossed leaves. So I'm just kind of tickling across the top, applying a little bit of ink, and I just love the way it makes those leaves leap off the page. Do a little bit more over here. There we go. Okay, so there are, can you see how those just sort of pop off the page? Oh, it looks like we're a little, okay. The ink is Mossy Meadow. It's tone on tone, Joyce. Okay, so same shade of ink as the cardstock. All right, so now I'm going to set this aside for a minute and we are going to work on our focal image. So here is yet another deckled circle, die cut from Crumb Cake cardstock and then embossed using the timber embossing folder. So that's that nice wood grain pattern. Okay, and then I have here a die cut twig and berry wreath. So this is die cut from early Espresso cardstock. I have put adhesive sheets on the back because I hate fussing with little dabs of liquid glue. You certainly probably could get away with it if you were so inclined. I'm just not. I hate messing with little bits of glue and I hate getting sticky fingers. So I am a big proponent of adhesive sheets whenever possible. So we are going to peel the adhesive sheets off and we are going to, or the backing off rather, and we're going to go nice and slow because if you go too fast, you're going to bend and tear your die cut. So we're just going to take it slow, work our way around. You don't want to be too aggressive with this because, as I said, we don't want bad things to happen to our die cut here. There we go. And then that is going to get centered on our die cut circle here. So we'll kind of get that positioned where we want it. It's pretty just like that, isn't it? Just with the die, but we're going to add some fall color to it. So I have a whole bunch of little twigs and berries, little sprigs here that I have cut from crushed curry and pumpkin pie and cherry cobbler and some more Mossy Meadow cardstock. Okay, so, and all of them again have adhesive sheets on the back, again, just for quick, easy assembly. All right, so we're just going to start kind of building our wreath here. So I'm going to start with one color, and it is sometimes easier to get your backings off with your take your pick tool because sometimes your nails fail you. So there we go. So I'm just going to pick a spot and I'm going to start working my way around. So I'm going to start with my crushed curry. I find it easiest to work one color at a time here. So we're just going to kind of work our way around. I think I have 4 of each color. So keeping that in mind, I'm going to space them out accordingly. And actually I lied. I have 3 that have adhesive sheets on the back. 1 does not, and that's going to be to decorate our sentiment. So I probably should have spread those out a little differently, but that's okay. That one doesn't have adhesive sheets. So you see that? These guys do not. So those ones are for our sentiment. So let's go on to pumpkin pie. So we're gonna work our way around here. There's 1. And we'll do another one. Oh, we'll put 1 up here. These little guys like to stick to your fingers when you've got adhesive sheets on them. And then 1 over between those crushed curry ones. So we'll put 1 right there. And then we'll come in with our cherry cobbler. And we'll put 1 there. And aren't you glad I didn't use glue on all of these little bitty guys? We'd be here for a year and a half putting all these little guys on with liquid glue. Adhesive sheets make it a whole bunch quicker. All right, there we go. That's going to be for our sentiments. And then we're going to add a little hint of green. So we'll add a little bit of Mossy Meadow, filling in some of our gaps. And I always like to overlap the ends. So sometimes I'll just peel up a berry and kind of tuck the end in so I don't see the end of the little sprig there. That one doesn't have adhesive sheets on it. And we'll add this little guy. We're going to tuck that in there. Just like that. And 1 more we're going to put down here. Nope, that one doesn't have adhesive sheets. Oh, I got 2 with no adhesive sheets. Okay, we're only getting 2 Mossy Meadow ones. That's okay. All right, so now we are going to work on our sentiments. I'm going to set this aside for a minute. I have this little die cut label. This is cut using the Wonderful Thoughts dies from Very Vanilla cardstock. And I have a sentiment. There is no real Thanksgiving-y or fall sentiment in the stamp set. So I'm actually using a sentiment from the Fruitful Blessings stamp set that just says grateful for you. So I'm going to stamp on that die cut label in early espresso ink. There we go. And then I'm going to show you this little ribbon trick. So I use some of that beautiful natural ribbon. It's quite wide. It does tie lovely bows, but they're too large to put on a card. So I'm going to show you this little trick for making a faux bow for your card. So I'm going to start by cutting, I don't know, 3.5, 4-inch piece of ribbon. And then I'm going to come in with my linen thread and grab, I don't know, long enough piece that you can maneuver it. So maybe 8 inches or so. And what I'm going to do is just tie that linen thread around my ribbon. And I'm going to pull it really nice and tight so it's gathered nicely. Okay, so I'm going to tie it once and then I'm going to hold that and tie a second knot. So I have a double knot there so it's nice and secure and nice and tight. Okay, And I'm going to trim off those threads really nice and short because I'm not going to need those. And then I'm going to take my ribbon, I'm going to cut it at a bit of an angle. And then one of the things I love most about this ribbon is that you can fray it and get a really neat sort of frayed, worn, distressed look. And then you see how we get this sort of finished edge here? Well, I don't want that. So I'm just going to kind of trim that on a little bit of an angle and give my ends a little haircut there. So again, I'm going to trim that and then give them a little haircut. Let's see if we can get a little bit more off of there. There we go. We'll just trim that around. Okay, and then we get this cute little faux bow that we are going to hide behind the end of our label like that. Isn't that cute? So before we do that, we're going to add some of those little sprigs that we had left over to the end of our label. So I'm going to put a bit of seal on the end of it here. Oh, Mary, see, it's growing on you, is it? Yeah, it's a great bundle. I love it. I'll show you another one at the end that I did using this same wreath, but in Christmas colors. I think you'll like it if you like Christmas. And we're going to add a Mossy Meadow one because we have two. So we'll add this little guy. And then that is going to get adhered. We're going to add a little bit more adhesive, and I'm actually going to put a glue dot where that ribbon is gathered in the middle. So there we go. And that is going to adhere just at a bit of an angle there. Okay, so that's going to go on like that. I'm going to bring in my wreath here in the spot where I ran out of Mossy Meadow twigs. We're going to hide that fact by adding our sentiment. So we're going to add a couple of dimensionals. Now this is quite thick. So in order for it to lie flat, because we've got that sort of knot, well, not knot, but the gathered ribbon, I'm actually going to do a double layer of dimensionals. Now, obviously this is not one you would mail. You wouldn't mail it with that thick ribbon on it anyway. But I've added a sort of a double stack dimensional, and then I'm going to add another glue dot to the back of my faux bow here. And then we're going to go ahead, oops, and stick it onto our wreath. So right about there. And you see how that lies nice and flat? Here, I'll hold it up. Can you see how it doesn't really buckle because of that double stacked dimensional technique? Okay. All right. So we're going to add a little bit of ribbon to our background panel. So I don't know, what is that? Like maybe 5 inches. And I'm going to trim one end into a V because, as I said, this does like to fray, and the V helps combat that. I'm going to run a little bit of seal right across the front of my panel here. And I'm going to stick my ribbon on, hopefully relatively straight. And then we'll flip it over, and we'll add a little bit more seal to the back and just wrap that raw end around the back like that. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and stick that onto our card base. This is a Crumb Cake card base, 5.5 by 8.5, scored in the middle at 4.25. So we will go ahead and fold that along our score line. And then I'm going to add slowly a little bit more adhesive. I tend to go too fast and rip my embossed cardstock with seal. Get a little overzealous. So we're going to add that to there. Just like that. Okay. And then we are going to go ahead and add our focal image. Now, I had popped this up on here, but I did not use a double layer of dimensionals. Can you see the difference? You see how that is like not lying flat? So because I used a double layer here, I am just going to glue this guy flat onto my card so that I don't end up with a triple thickness of dimensionals. So we'll add a little liquid glue to that. And we're going to center. So I'm kind of looking at my label there and making sure it's kind of centered on my ribbon and straight on the front of my card. And then the last touch is to add a little bit of bling with some gold pearls. So these are from the Blooming Pearls pack. And I'm just going to tuck a few little pearls in around my wreath here. Whoopsie, I didn't get one. I thought I did, but it didn't stick. There's one. And one more. Oh, that one didn't come off either. I think I need some new blue goo in there. All right, there we go. There's our finished card. I'll show you really quickly what I did on the inside of this one. So I took the individual twig and berry stamp and I just stamped it along the bottom in all of the same ink colors that I used cardstock on the front of the card. Just a really simple little way to tie in the inside of the card to the front. Okay, so that is number 2 done. So far the Wi-Fi is holding. This is good news. We're going to cross our fingers. We got one more to go. All right, so this last one is kind of a neat fun fold. So this uses that beautiful snowflake die, and I do enjoy doing Christmas cards occasionally in non-traditional colors. I am, when it comes to decorating, I am a traditionalist. I have red and green all over my house. But when it comes to making cards, I like to switch it up. I think because I like to play with colors. So this one is a really soft, pretty, non-traditional holiday card. And it's kind of neat because it opens like this. And it actually stands up with your wreath kind of popped out like that. Can you see that? So I'll hold that up so you can see. It's a little cockeyed right now, but that's the way it stands up. Okay, and then on the back there is room to write your greeting. Okay, so I'm going to show you. I like to do Christmas cards that people can display, because I think at Christmas it's one of the few times of year where people actually do put out the cards that they receive and have them on display. So I like to do fun folds for Christmas cards because that makes them pretty to display. So let's get to it. This is not hard at all, but there are some kind of precise measurements. So I'm starting with just a standard half sheet of cardstock. It's 5.5 by 8.5. Okay, and then I've scored at 2 1/8, at 4 1/4, and then I actually rotated it and scored at 2 1/8 again. So every 2 1/8, you're doing a score line essentially. Okay, so 2 1/8, 4 1/4, rotate, and then another 2 1/8. So you have 4 equal segments here. I'm not sure how well that shows. There you go. Now you can see those score lines. Okay. So the first thing I'm going to do is fold along that center score line, just as though this were a regular card. So we're just folding it in half along that 4 1/4 inch score line. Okay, so this looks very much like a regular card, except we have the extra score line. So now I'm going to take that next score line and I'm going to fold this panel back. And I really want to take care to make sure that my edges line up with that center fold and really crisp up my score lines. Okay, so now I have basically a Z, or Z if you're in the US. All right, now I'm going to flip the whole thing over and I'm going to do the same thing with that other score line. So again, fold it back on itself and crisp that up. Now I have a W, or an M if you do it upside down. Okay, so this is what we're going to be working with. So this is going to form our base. This is how it's going to open, right? And then when we close it, it's going to close this way. Okay, all right. Now, before we do anything, we have to do a little bit of stamping. So I have some pieces of Winter Meadow Designer Series paper. So this paper is super versatile. It's got the lovely watercolor forest scene on the back, but my favorite thing about this paper are all the different washes on the reverse sides, because you can use them for all sorts of things. So I have 4 pieces here, and they look very close to the same, but they're not identical. So 2 of these are 2 by 5 3/8 inches. And 2 of them are 2 1/16 by 5 3/8. So 1/16, let me just show you on my trimmer, because some of us, as soon as we hear 16th, our brain starts to melt. So here we go. Here's 2 inches. Okay, the first little tick past the 2 inch mark towards 3, that's a 16th. Okay, so you're going to cut at 2 1/16. So you're going to line your paper up with that first little tick mark there. Okay. I know, as soon as I hear 16th, it's like, say what? All right, so 2 1/16 by 5 3/8, and then 2 by 5 3/8. Let me just double check to see. Yeah, that's the 2 inch one. Oh, no. Yes, it is. Oh, maybe not. Hang on. I got to make sure I get these right. These are the 2 inch. These are 2 1/16, because it matters. Trust me. All right, so we are going to do some stamping on these panels. So I'm going to bring in the snowflake stamps from the stamp set. You bet you thought I wasn't going to do any stamping at all today. And my color palette is Fresh Freesia, Pool Party, and Soft Seafoam. Okay, a really nice, soft, wintry palette. So we're going to keep in mind that these panels are going to sort of butt up against each other. They're not going to be right against each other, but pretty close. So I'm actually going to flip this around because I like having the darker along the outside edge there. So these are the 2 1/16 panels. These are going to be for the inside of our card. Okay, so they are going to be behind, let me open this up, they're going to be behind our wreath. Okay, so I'm going to stamp mostly along the bottom on those ones. So let's bring in, and I like to work from light to dark. So I'm going to start with my pool party. And I may as well actually have both of these ready to go at the same time because that will make things a little bit more efficient. So here are my 2-inch panels. Here are my 2 1/8, and I'm just going to go to town. So I'm going to start with my inside ones. I'm using this stamp that has 3 snowflakes on one stamp. And then on the front, I'm actually going to kind of come down from the upper edges at a diagonal. So this one's going to kind of come down this way. I'm not being super careful. Doesn't really matter. It's a snowstorm. Okay. Then we're going to come in with our fresh freesia. And I'm going to stamp off as much of the pool part as I can. And then we're going to kind of do the same thing. I just want to take care that you don't overlap the snowflake images. I feel like they're not super tidy when you do that. So you just kind of have to be strategic now. You can't be quite as quick when you're doing the second round because you want to make sure that you're not overlapping your images. So we'll add one there. We're going to add a little guy in there. And maybe throw it this way. There we go. Okay. And then we're going to come in with some soft seafoam. And for this one, because we're kind of getting into like strategic placement now, we're going to use this little individual snowflake stamp. So I love that we have some choice in this stamp set, that we have quick, create a fast snow flurry with the 3-in-1 stamp, but then we also have this individual one for sort of strategic snowflake placement. So I'm going to add a few of these little soft seafoam snowflakes to the front and inside panels. Maybe do that. Yeah, that works for me. All right, so let's put that away and let's assemble our cards. Okay, so these ones, again, were for the front. Yes, so we're going to set those aside. These are for the inside. Okay, now the next thing we need out of our little bag of goodies here are some circles. Now this is going to be my circle that I build my wreath on. Again, cut with the Deckled Circles dies. It's cut from more Winter Meadow DSP. This is sort of a pool party or Lost Lagoon wash. So we're going to be using that. I'm going to set these 2 panels aside for a minute. And we're going to build our wreath. So here I have the snowflake wreath that's been die cut from basic white cardstock. Again, adhesive sheets on the back. They are your friend. There is no way in heck I would be fighting with liquid glue on this snowflake wreath. No, that would make me absolutely crazy. Now, again, we want to take care as we're peeling our backing off. And ideally, most of our bits are going to come off with the backing. Now, I say ideally. It did when I was making my sample, but now that I'm on live, it won't. And I'll be poking bits for the next half hour. That's not too bad. I'm not going to worry actually about poking too many of these because we are going to be covering up a lot of this wreath with the colored snowflakes. So I'm just going to go ahead and stick this down. It's going to hang off the edge of our die cut circle a little bit, and that's totally okay. Okay, so there is our snowflake wreath. And then I have several individual snowflakes, again, that I've cut from the same colors of cardstock that we use to stamp. So again, I've got some pool party, I've got some fresh freesia, and I've got some soft seafoam. So again, we're just going to start building our wreath. And I'm not going to go in any super special order, but I'm just going to start sticking these guys on. So again, I do find it easiest to work one color at a time, but you don't have to. I just find it easier to get even placement, but if you want it to be truly random, that works too. So again, here we go. Here's our soft seafoam. And you see how quick the adhesive sheets make these? Can you imagine trying to do this with liquid glue? No, thank you. All right, and then finally we'll come around with our fresh freesia, and we're going to have a gap where we are going to put our bow. So there's going to be one spot where there's not really a colored snowflake, and that's okay because that's where we're going to hide our bow. There's that one. And we'll add one. Maybe we'll put one down here. No, we'll put it down here. And we'll put our bow up here, or maybe here. That's where our bow will go. Okay. So that is our wreath. Now we need to make this sort of pop out mechanism work. We need 2 circles that are smaller than this. So I am using 2.5-inch circles. It doesn't really matter what size you have as long as they are smaller than whatever circle you are using for your focal image. Okay, so I'm going to take these circles. I need 2 of them. They're just punched from basic white cardstock, and I'm going to fold them in half. Now these do not have to be perfect. They don't have to be pretty. Nobody's really going to see them. So we're going to fold those in half and just crisp them up because you do want nice crisp folds. Okay. All right. Now these are my 2 1/16" panels. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my 2 folded circles, and one is going to get glued on each panel like this, but we want to make sure that they are going to line up so that they form a complete circle when these are glued on. Okay. So they need to be lined up like that. Okay, so once I kind of got them lined up, I'm going to take one, I'm going to flip it over, I'm going to add a little liquid glue to the back, and I'm going to glue down just that back flap. The front one is going to stay up. Okay, so see how that's still flapping? All right, now I'm going to do the same thing with this one, but again, before I glue it, I just want to make sure that these are going to line up. So I'm kind of lining up my panels on my grid paper and making sure that my circles are going to align. Okay, so now I can move this out of the way. I'm going to hold that in place, flip it over, add a bit of glue, and glue that down. Okay, so now I have my 2 panels with my little white circles flapping in the breeze there. Okay, so now we are going to bring in our card base, and I'll explain what's going to happen before I do it. So these panels are going to get glued to the inside of that card base. And you're thinking, okay, she said these are each 2 1/8. These are 2 1/16. That doesn't leave you a lot of clearance. You are correct. It does not, because these almost need to butt up right against each other. So the fold is there. I'm going to fold it a little bit so you can see, but I'm basically going to glue my paper so that it's right up to the fold. The reason for that is we want, let me just get this centered on here. We want to make sure that this flap is going to close when we lay this down. Okay, so if we center this on here, that's not going to happen. So we have to make sure that this is right up to that fold line to make sure that it's going to close properly. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and add a little glue to the back of this. You definitely want to use liquid glue for this because you do need that little bit of wiggle time to adjust. So again, I'm going to pull this right up close to the fold. I'm going to push this shut and make sure that that is nicely aligned. Okay, we'll burnish that. That is all good. So panel 1 is down. We're going to do the same thing on the other side. Okay, so I'm going to line that up. I'm going to make sure this closes. Okay, we're going to burnish that a little, make sure it's all good. Okay, and once you have it in position, I would suggest just doing it this way. Rather than risk getting it out of alignment again, just flip that up, throw a little glue on there, and that should fold again. So now I can close my card, and there's my little circle peeking out between the gatefold. Do you see that? Okay, so once we've got that done, that's the hard part. The rest is just really adding our additional panels. So we're not going to do our front yet, but we are going to add our 2 panels to the outside here on the outer panels on the inside of the card, if that makes sense. So this is more of that same DSP that I used for my circle. So we're going to go ahead and glue these. So these are 2 inches by 5 3/8. And you're going to see once I glue these on, they're not going to look all that different in size from the ones that are in the middle. And that's just because it kind of creates a little bit of an illusion. that they are the same size. And honestly, 1/16 of an inch is pretty hard. Oh, you know what? I'm going to flip this around because that's going to bug me. There we go. So we're going to line those up. So there we go. That's the inside of our card done. Okay. And then we're going to close this up and we are going to add our 2 front panels. So we've got one on this side. And I like to do this with the card half open so I can line my top and bottom edges up. Again, that's just me. Making sure everything's nice and straight. And I'll add another one over here. So we're going to get that nicely aligned. And once again, make sure that's centered. And I have even borders. Okay, and now we can go ahead and add our circle. So keeping in mind, we're going to have a bow at the top there. So the easiest way to do this is to just put some glue on those little half circles and then stick our wreath in the center. Now you do want to try and get this centered. Doesn't have to be perfect, but close is better than not. Okay, and then we can open up our card and there's our pop out. Isn't that a neat little technique? All right. Oh, hi, Joyce. Oh, you like this. Oh, thanks. I'm glad you like it. Okay, so now we need to add our sentiment. So I have another little bit of the DSP. This is a label using the Christmas Classics dies. And I've just cut this label from that same DSP because I kind of like it to look similar. I felt like white was just a little bit too harsh on this card. So we're going to bring in our Smoky Slate ink and the sentiment from the stamp set. And we're just going to stamp that on our die cut label. And then we're going to add just a little hint of the snowflakes. I'm going to be really quick and subtle about it. I have Fresh Freesia ink on here, so I'm going to start with that one. So we're just going to ink this up, and I'm just going to add a couple of itty bitty snowflakes on my label. And then we're going to do the same with the pool party. After I get rid of most of that Fresh Freesia ink. So we'll just do a little bit there. And a little one there. And then finally, a little bit of soft sea foam. One there, and maybe one there. There we go. Okay. And then that is going to get it adhered. I just dropped all my ink pads, but just is going to get adhered to the center of our wreath there, just with a couple of dimensionals. So we'll just kind of do one. You kind of want to keep your dimensionals towards the middle of your labels, just so that you don't run the risk of them hanging off the edge of your circle and potentially sticking your card shut. So we're going to put that right about there. And then our last couple of touches is a pretty bow using this beautiful sheer ribbon. So we're going to tie us a lovely shimmery bow here. So this one is currently out of stock as well. Did I mention most of the embellishments in the mini are out of stock? But I'm pretty sure it's coming in this week. If not this week, then next week. So lots of time to get it still for Christmas crafting. So we'll trim our tails and we are going to add a glue dot. To the center of our bow. And that is going to adhere. And the nice thing is that the bow doesn't get in the way of our card operating, right? Because these guys kind of tuck in behind. All right, and then I'm not going to take the time, but I'll show you really quickly on the back. These are 2 more panels that are 2 by 5 3/8 inches. They're just cut from basic white cardstock. I did a little more stamping, stamped a sentiment, and oh, I forgot my bling. Let's add our bling because that doesn't take long. So we're going to add a couple of these adhesive back sequins, and I have cat hair stuck to it. I have a funny story. Stella got up on my desk on the weekend and sat on a sheet of these sequins and they stuck to her butt and she got all freaked out because they wouldn't come off. They were stuck to her fur and she was not impressed. And I just told her, you know, that's what happens when you get up on mom's stamp desk. Bad things happen. All right, so here we go. There is our finished fun fold. Let me bring in our other 2 from today and then I'll show you a couple more that I did. So there are our 3 from today. And then here's another idea. So this is a much simpler idea than this one, using some of that beautiful Snowflake Magic specialty paper. And I just die cut the single snowflake wreath from some silver foil. And then I'm not sure if you can see, but every snowflake has a rhinestone in the center of it. So this is super blingy, but super simple. I embossed the specialty paper with the snowflake, snowflake sky. Yeah, snowflake sky embossing folder. I just looked it up on my in my pile here, and heat embossed the greeting in white on that one. Okay, and then on the inside again, there's just a really simple inside. And then here is super bold and bright. So if you like bold, fun, funky colors for the holidays, this is another one using that Christmas tree wreath, stamped shaded spruce on shaded spruce cardstock, and then die cut. This is actually Parakeet Party. It is bold and bright. And then I just kind of randomly stamped that wreath in the shaded spruce and then added a few of the individual trees tone on tone in the Parakeet Party. A little bit of the Merry Bold and Bright DSP. And then this is my fave. I love this one. I love vintage, and I'm a music teacher, so the music paper in the background makes me happy. But here is that twig and berry wreath done in Christmas colors. So again, very similar to what I did for this one. Started with a Mossy Meadow wreath, and then cut a bunch of sprigs in Mossy Meadow cherry cobbler and some of the distressed gold specialty paper. My background started out as pecan pie, embossed with timber embossing folder, and then I just did a little bit of ink blending with some early espresso to really bring out the texture in that one. All right, there we go. I hope you like that one. I hope you enjoyed these cards. Thank you for sticking with me through my Wi-Fi issues earlier. I will have to do a little bit of editing so that when it comes up on YouTube, people aren't going, what the heck is this woman doing? She doesn't know anything about technology, so I will edit it. So if you do want to go back and watch the replay, maybe wait a little bit and I will edit out all of the craziness at the beginning so that it plays a little bit better. Okay? All right, everyone, let me switch back to my face so I can say goodbye. Thank you for joining me today and for your patience. I hope you have a great week, and I will see you next week for another episode of Tuesday Live at 5. Bye for now.